margin builder, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a alcohol beverage folks question, and I'll have someone in my office checking in and get with you about that, Jeff.
Because right now we used to have just beer, we couldn't have
Beer and wine.
Well, usually they'll have separation requirements and/or as opposed to a straight-up liquor license, because you don't have the consumption up front with the restaurant kind of license with the 50% or more revenue derived from the sale of non-alcoholic beverages.
11C is the license we're looking for. It's like a country club / golf course license, and then there's ones that are for municipalities that are like for their golf courses in the Florida statutes. So, I mean, I've been down this road, and I would really like to have that, but I understand the legality if it has to be something to do with the building and the ownership or what.
Well, I don't know if it's the ownership. I think again it's the use probably. That's typical of beverage operates, because there are many places where there are tenants that operate full-blown restaurants and facilities with liquor licenses. But we'll check on that.
Thank you.
That's not a village issue. Well, there might be, because sometimes they'll have separation requirements in their codes. How many liquor licenses you can have. That might be part of it too.
Yeah, it seems like that's where you're going down, because it was something about you couldn't have more than one liquor license
within a certain distance
or whatever.
Or within certain
and you're
distance.
thinking, well, across the street you have Brady's, you have the Marsalis.
But those are restaurants.
Right, but
they don't have the straight liquor license. They have the
consumption on
premises with the restaurant. That's
51-49. 51% food, 49% liquor.
Yeah. And you have to maintain about 150 seats and keep it open, the kitchen open and all that. I think that's, if I recall, from my Wayback Machine, I used to do that more often. But I'll check on that. I'll get with Jeff.
Thank you, Tom.
Work with you on that. But those are some of the issues. And Chuck, do we get the...
We got the appraisal late yesterday.
Okay.
Drum roll. 6.8.
What is this, right?
Yeah, right.
Shocking.
Yes.
We get a deal.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was in a community board meeting a few months back, and one of the longtime residents indicated that that building out there has a lot of mold to it. So has anybody checked that out?
That did have a lot of mold. When the building shut down 2 years ago for COVID, shut down, closed it up, walked away from it. When they went back in, the air conditioning unit had backed up or whatever, and yes, the building was loaded with mold. And after that, once they started, they gutted the building down to the bare walls. The entire Duffy's was completely redone, all new, everything was new. What they did, they also took all the furniture out and had the furniture cleaned before it was put back in. They have, and I don't remember the name of the company, but we had the same company, because the air conditioning unit in the pro shop was also done because there was some mold in the air in the pro shop. So the companies have been in and re-evaluated both buildings, and they're clear from mold. So the mold was from when the building was shut down, and it was months that nobody was in there. And I think somebody decided to go in, and it was the green that was on the wall was mold, not their green paint. So, so that has all been rectified and done. So there's no problem with that at this point. I know Tom Patrica had asked me about that. Okay.
So, as part of trying to size a band on anticipation note,
yes,
we need to talk about other items that you would like to fund with that same financing. So my thoughts are we'll roll this up to 7.
Okay. Because
got the update to the roads. You saw that.
Okay, the update to the roads would be
rolling that between pavement and concrete repairs. Roll that up to 2.
I'd say that's pushing $2 million right there.
Yep. Roll that up to 2. Did you want to put landscaping in, and what kind of a number were you looking at for landscaping?
Sorry, just to go back on the building, what would basically 275 or 250,000? Would that cover closing costs, everything else? So we're looking at 6.75. We have an appraisal at 6.8. If we approximate 7, is that going to cover any type of
Well, I think at the end, I'm going to throw a contingency on there too. We'll roll this up another 10 to 15% from the numbers that
So,
we have.
okay,
Because
just an overall.
I'd rather you have too much.
Right, no.
And be able to prepay than not enough.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm getting at,
What about-
saying that's 7.
What about
I see.
pro shop remodeling?
Yeah, right.
Bathroom remodeling?
Okay,
We'll throw another $500,000 in there for that.
yeah.
Kind of just general.
16% real estate.
Is the cart barn in
16%
good shape
for
or
Jeff, the car barn is in good shape?
Car barn's fine.
it's all good?
Sale price,
Okay.
not additional.
Okay,
I think we're starting to go down golf course expenses,
But our closing cost, I don't want to.
yeah.
and throwing it
That's
on
true. That's
Okay,
true. That's
so-
a bond that is going to the residents
That
about
is
buying
true.
property in a building, so.
No, you're right. You're right. That needs to be separate.
Separate.
Yep.
Yeah, and recognizing the lease payments for, and assuming it's all closes, the lease payments for the pro shop go away, unless you want to pay yourselves.
No, I
I think they have to.
No, I think we should pay ourselves.
Continue that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, it's part of it.
they do need to pay.
One front to the other.
Okay.
Yes.
Need to do that.
Okay, so it won't be, the question won't be because you'll be the owner.
Correct.
That would be a fund issue, a budgeting issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's
We
it.
will, that's
Jeff trying to slide that one in there real quick. He's like,
Basically,
yeah, hell yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the general charge is going to own this property and building if this goes through.
correct.
The enterprise fund,
Actually, no.
AKA the golf course,
That's
will
district,
be a
right?
tenant
Yep.
of the
Yes.
general.
We are still a tenant.
Or a user in a sense. It's the same entity.
Right.
So,
Right.
Okay.
so what are you looking at for landscaping? Think a mill?
I think, yeah, I would go with $1 million.
I'm just thinking.
Okay, so we're at around 10 at this point.
I would go for 11.
The landscape, now, that include that parking lot up there for that building, or is that in the building cost?
That would be in the building.
Because that parking lot needs some work.
Oh, we need some serious work.
I think most of the work, in my opinion, that needs to be done up there is more removal and cleanup than actual install. And it's time to get to, trim the trees and just level those parking areas, you know what I mean? And just clean it up and make it, when them cars are close to each other, and I kind of, now that I think about it, I kind of see why there's probably a little berm there, because if you flatten it and then the cars get over and they're higher than the curb, you're gonna have cars doing this nothing, you know what I mean? So, but I think there's more cleanup there than install.
Right.
We want to keep it clean and open. I think that's the new look we plan on going through, so, yeah.
When I spoke with Brian the last time that he and Darrell were here, and I said, if this deal goes through, Brian's idea was we need to get rid of some of these trees so that the lights, so we can see the lights. Level it to some degree and maybe put pavers there so it's easier walking. Clean up some of the stuff, and it was more, their feeling was it's more cleanup,
Yeah.
and make it more usable
Right.
than replanting it.
Yeah.
So, yes, and that'll be part of, and we can build that into the camp, because they're paying to maintain the parking lot, well, then we'll have to bump that up to maintain the look of the parking lot as well, because those lights benefit them more so than us. So, I'm thinking 11, Chuck?
11?
What was the asking price again from the?
6,700,000.
83, 38, 83.
And the person doing appraiser is the appraiser,
We hired
Yes.
And that was 6.8.
6.8.
he already had it done up.
I told, I'm sure that the current owners already did full
Yeah.
appraisal before they even came up with the price. That's the business one.
He actually came in under,
He did it on purpose.
Yeah, right, he's like, hey, I'll throw him a bone.
Okay, so with the par at just about, with the net bond proceeds being just about 11 million, you're looking at an issue amount of 11,735.
Annually.
And annually, you're looking at 517 for 30 years. And I've got that figured at 3%. Probably going to come in a little underneath that,
Okay.
but that's a good conservative number.
Okay, so currently, right now on the tax bill is $325 for the the bond, which will be coming off. There's $100 on there that we were putting aside for landscaping, which was for the tax.
Helps to offset.
So, so that, both of those will come off. So we're talking about a $75, $80 a year additional to own
Over
the
what
building.
they're currently paying.
Right, over
What about the revenue that would be occurred from us paying a lease and Duffy's paying a lease?
Yeah,
Where does that?
that's not figured in here at this point.
No, that's not figured in, but, you know.
So it'll go lower.
In looking at.
Go lower.
Right, so looking at the documents that we can't share, that additional
What-
could go towards reducing the bond, you know.
You might want to take that and essentially put that into a reserve for eventual replacement.
Yeah,
Have that income become your
your
built-in
reserve.
reserve to address the building needs as you go on.
You
Sure. Yeah.
So, you know, so that, yeah. Because although they do pay we all, the Duffy's and the Pro Shop pay every year to the CAM, which pays for, in that rent, they pay, is insurance, reserves, money goes into reserves for the roof, the building, and something else. I read so much in my mind.
He's like painting,
Painting, okay. So, we will still maintain our own insurance Duffy's will still maintain their insurance, but there is a reserve through the CAM it's paid every year that we
That's
will
true.
continue to pay. So that, you know, but we'll keep that as a reserve, and if we find that we don't need that much maintained, because the roof is new, so that should last us a while.
You can always take it, once you've built up a comfortable nest egg, if you will, to be able to rely upon us, just use that to offset and reduce assessments going forward.
Right.
Yes.
So.
A lot of unknowns starting out, though.
Right.
Now, the other question that I asked Chuck earlier, and Tony, maybe you could enlighten us. I was looking at LIPA.org, and any of the property owned by the CDD, we do not pay property taxes.
This one will be different because we're getting revenue.
Okay,
If it was like, for example, Lee Health,
okay,
a hospital, to the extent that they buy properties and they don't lease them out to any third-party vendor, but they use them for themselves,
okay,
those are not subject to taxes or assessments.
okay.
Lee Health, run into that.
And that was a $20,000 note.
Yeah,
So-
so it's not that great. I just wasn't sure because I was looking at
And
the other things.
most of that's collected from your biggest tenant, which is
Yes.
Duffy's, so.
Right. I think it's almost 14,000 is from Duffy's, the balance is from us. Okay,
This may sound like a dumb question, but who manages, once we do this, who manages the lease? Who negotiates the lease for us?
You're going to need a
Well, the lease is already in place.
the lease is in.
I understand that, but once the lease is over, who's the person?
that's going to become an expense that you're going to have to incur. Be
Right.
Similar to what TAQ is doing, they have a
Right.
property manager.
AJS Realty.
Yep.
They have a property manager in the CAM, the management fee that we pay every year for management. There is a fee for a managing agent. So that's something we need to look into. I don't know if you have managing agents that, okay. So,
My suggestion might be we start with who's there currently.
Yeah.
And is familiar with it, and then if you have some issues or you want shopping around, then shop it around.
okay.
I think there is a
What would be involved in that? I mean, you're talking about negotiating leases with Duffy's, wouldn't that be through an attorney?
No, Duffy's lease is already in place, and part of the transaction would be, typically you have what they call an attornment. Existing tenants are torn to and recognize the new property owner is the new landlord. And I can't recall the term of that lease, but that lease is in effect right now. So it's just a matter of managing it, making sure the insurance and everything else, taxes and the rent collection, and all those activities that go along with managing a commercial property.
Yeah. The building mechanics, air
Vendor.
conditioner goes out, you've got a building manager to address it with vendors.
You gonna go outside for that?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's something you want to be burdened with, and I'm not set up to do it.
Oh, I was going to say, what about you?
Not in our agreement. Don't manage buildings.
Question. Right now, we file taxes, but anything for the CDD currently goes through Jeff Henry. For that building,
We would still keep the books for you.
you would still keep
Yeah,
the books?
We'd still keep the books for
So-
you. You just need somebody to physically manage the asset.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's going to be better if we do that. That way we have all of your financials are.
Well, that's what I was going to say,
Yeah.
because I'm sure we'll have to file taxes based on all that.
So is this person basically like a liaison between Duffy's and?
It's the lady that you've been dealing with
Lisa.
before. Lisa.
Yeah.
And
Right.
replace the,
So if Duffy's has a complaint or an issue, they call her, she calls us?
exactly,
Yeah. So,
Also on the numbers, I don't know.
What's up, property manager?
200,000 in the irrigation, or irrigation in the general fund for landscapes.
yes, there is money in
So
there.
that would be taken out of.
yeah, we would reduce your assessment related to that.
Right, and then we do have that
helps to
money.
offset the 500.
Right. The cost of that.
Yeah.
Eileen,
There's some technicality.
can you address what it would be if we only did the landscaping and the road projects, which we have to do anyway? The net. I mean, it's going to cost us more than $75 if we just did that, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, to do that, then again, if we did those two separately, it would be another bond, the additional amount on top of that bond.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would do the landscaping and the road work over a 30-year bond, and I think we're better off doing it all as one.
Right.
You do want to do it all as one.
Yeah.
So
Because the overhead cost of issuance itself.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
It's
like, let's
cumbersome.
pull this all together, even though it's early on some of the road work. And you're better off
Better to
to
have
finance
it.
it and do it now,
Yeah.
move forward.
It's like $250,000, right? For
And bond issue.
to issue a bond, it's not
Yeah,
$250,000.
Once you validate it, that doesn't start the clock ticking on the issuance cost, then you have to actually issue the bonds.
Yeah.
Right.
So assuming you get the bond anticipation note of X number of dollars, there'll be costs associated with that.
Yeah.
But whether you want to have a lower bond anticipation note than validate a higher amount later on is another question. In other words, you may need, let's just say $7 million for a bond anticipation note, which is less than a 5-year term, validate $12 million.
Right.
And part of that 12 million takes out the 7 million, right, Chuck? And then you have the other 5 million that you may not issue bonds or borrowings until later on,
Right.
but depending upon the market and the rates.
But you want to do it all as one, just have that one cost hit once.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, I will run off and get you a
Give
term
me some
letter for a
money.
van.
And
Okay.
then we'll have a meeting sometime this week on my phone, 3 of us, maybe Friday. That's a good day for you? That's your recovery day?
Friday afternoon.
Yeah, Friday afternoon is Chuck's recovery day for the week.
Okay. Friday afternoon is good for me.
Okay.
You want to get me before 4.
Yeah, I know
Oh,
that.
yeah. Or for me.
Or we get them at the River District in downtown. After 4. That's right. Is that a fair statement?
Okay, so at this point, you're going to look for the bond, we're okay with that?
I'll approach bank for a van.
Okay, and then, so we're going with that. We just have to wait for the rest of the information to come in on the appraisal, or the inspection.
Yeah, I just got an email that phase 1 should be ready at the end of this week, but I asked about the balance of it, so I'll keep everybody posted on that.
Okay. Right, so it looks like we're well on our way.
Keep going.
Everybody's comfortable with the numbers you got?
I have gone over the trade secret stuff more times than I care to think about. Yes, I am very comfortable with the expenses, the P&L statements. Last year was not great for Duffy's because they opened so late and other stuff, but going through what they've done as far as the renovation, the payments of that, the P&L statements, the reserves, I am comfortable that with the bond issuance, that we will be able to take care of everything and everything will be fine. I look at these paperwork every couple of days just to go over it and write additional notes, and I think every time I take this stuff out, Kenny leaves, because I don't want to see that. I don't blame him. Yeah, I am comfortable with with all of it.
Would you buy Duffy's?
If I got the money, yeah, I would buy the building. Absolutely.
I have a question. I don't know if you can answer this. Does the monthly average revenue received from Duffy's, does it cover all or pay a good portion of what the monthly payment basically for Duffy's would be?
I'm not sure if we can address that.
You can't address, okay, that's fine, I just didn't know.
I'm just a little cautious about that.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is that I am comfortable with what we're doing, and if I was not, and I did not think that we could maintain this, I would not go along with it. Is that
So
good?
I think that's fair. That's
would
fair.
I assume that we are going to get, I know we can't see everything, but we will get some package, obviously verifying this appraisal, and we will vote on this on the March 22nd meeting?
Yeah, I'll have, Tony can go
Because we
through
have to have
that.
an answer by April 15th to them,
Yes.
correct?
Mhm.
So
And
unless we-
redact those things.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let Tony redact those things that you're not supposed to see,
Right.
because there are references to them, and that's why I'm not sending the whole package to the entire board.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, for myself and for
Yeah,
everybody else, to
absolutely.
gauge when should I be prepared to vote on
March
this?
22nd.
March 22nd.
When should I be getting documents so I can be prepared to vote on it? So I will anticipate being prepared to discuss this more on March 22nd.
Yes. The other thing, and I did go through some of the things I have shown, the insurance documents to Joe.
Okay, very good. That's the insurance.
And the current insurance agent that we have, so, and I've gone through the 39 documents or so. Going through that, because I spoke with him, and I said, I'd like you to look at them. Yes,
So is the time period that you're looking at 30 years for the bond?
yes, 30 years,
Investment, if you will?
30-year.
So what I'm hearing is that there's going to be basically little to no impact on residents after the expiration of the current bond.
Right, and we're talking, at this point, what Chuck just pulled up, it's probably like a $75, $80 a year difference. And that, and you have to understand that if we don't do that, the residents are still going to have to pay for the road repair. They're still going to have to pay for the landscaping. So this is all lumped into one.
And stretched out longer to
Stretched out longer.
reduce the cost monthly,
So,
annually.
and if I was just doing the landscaping, I'm not sure I could get a 30-year bond for landscaping.
There'd be no reason to do a bond for the landscape.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right, so it would be a 5-year loan that the residents would have to pay
At a higher rate.
at a higher rate and a shorter period of time. So this is the best way to keep the costs as relative to what we're paying now and stretch it out a longer period of time, get the roads done, the landscaping done, and own the property that we should have owned a long time ago.
I'll just throw this out there.
Yes.
They're looking to, put a new community center in, and we got a building over there. Is there any way to work it out so maybe that's a community center? I don't know.
We've actually, I would say I threw that out as
Yes.
a potential idea. From a community standpoint, I think we'd be better off with a renter in there, making money and, helping pay down, because these numbers we're talking about doesn't take into effect. I mean, I know we're going to have to put back reserves. There's going to be startup expenses, but I would hope that within a few years down the road, we've got reserves, we're in a good spot, that any profits that would come off that building would be able to funnel back into the fund and actually decrease what we pay as residents every year. I think that's my
That's
thoughts
the
on
goal.
it. And I think, can't speak for everybody else, but I think that is the goal here, is to where that's making money, we've got reserves, we're in a good spot, and boom, that number we're talking about comes lower for the residents. If we use that as a community center, obviously that's not even going to happen because they have another lease for 7 years, right? I think.
7 years, and then they have...
So Duffy's going to be there for another 7 years regardless. Even if we wanted to make it a community center, we'd have to wait 7 years. And then as a community, we're eating that entire expense, which I guess if that's what the community want to do, we can do. But personally, I think it makes more sense to try to keep that as it is, a functioning restaurant. A lot of residents like the fact they can just walk or drive a golf cart up to the restaurant too, and let the HOA do what they want to do here.
Supports the golf course operation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. The difference is we're trying to make sure it's paid for
Yeah.
versus adding a huge expense to the homeowners.
And to boot, didn't you guys originally offer the HOA the ability to build the community center through
Within
this
our
bond?
bond.
Yeah, they didn't like that because of the fact,
The public.
if we did it, we would have to offer that community center access to the general public
At a fee.
at a fee, but, you know.
Not that anybody would have paid it, but.
You can split hairs on it, you know, I mean,
That
I
seems
do
like a very
understand
obscure thing to
they
me.
were hesitant to get into that. I see their point. It's
have
not
to
like
do a
we'd
lot
have
of-
a billboard out front saying, hey, join, but.
You'd have to do a
I-
lot of digging around to find that, to even know you could do it. I mean, like, who's gonna do that?
I know.
I mean, is it
Yeah, it's just-
penny wise, pound foolish, what they're trying to do here? If you have the ability to roll that into this bond, I don't live here, you know, I just work here, but I love this community and I work for it. I mean, why would you not allow this bond to include that community center? Save yourself some money for the mere fact you're not doing it for that some obscure, look it up, how would we even know that?
Same people in school.
Jeff, you're preaching to the choir.
I can't understand the thought process the HOA is having with that, and why they wouldn't do it this way, because, okay, so what's that gonna cost? Another $3 million you gotta add on there? But it's in one bill, and it's over 30 years, it's stretched, and you don't have to, it's just silly. Sorry.
You had a
I just
question?
have a question on Duffy's. Included in their monthly rent, they pay a commission on sales?
I'm not sure if that's new information or not. If it is, that, and if it's in
I
the
can't
trade secret, we
discuss
can't
that.
discuss it.
What's that?
If that's-
If there
if
is
that
or if
is-
there's not, you
We
can't
can't
discuss it.
can't disclose
That's
it.
correct. There are certain documents that were delivered as trade secrets under Florida statutes that are exempt from disclosure. The confidential and exempt disclosure is actually a crime. So,
The amount I can understand, but not if.
The principal.
Yeah,
It's the
right,
principle. The bottom line
I don't do
is,
that.
going through the
I can
documents,
check on that and come back to the next board meeting, but I'm not
Okay.
ready to address that. I always like to err on the side of caution when you deal with trade secrets.
the bottom line is, what is paid between the pro shop and Duffy's
I think you already.
is a fair
I
assessment.
think you already stated earlier.
Yeah, so. And I don't look good in orange, so no, I've got to be very careful with what I say.
You know, you hate to talk about it like this, and it bothers me too, because I'm on this board, but I can't see everything that they are seeing. But as our legal counsel is saying, you know, we're trying to abide by what the state of Florida is telling us we can and can't do in this situation. And it protects them too. I mean, if you own that business, you wouldn't want us the ability to just sit here and discuss numbers out in public, because what if we don't end up buying it? Then the next person that comes along already has the information, and I get it. It's not most desirable from our standpoint, but.
It's awkward and difficult. I
Yeah,
agree.
but it is what it is.
Yes.
I don't know the numbers, but I think it's pretty substantial.
That there's a commission on top of.
I don't know the details of the lease, but I would say it's probably pretty substantial.
You hear a lot, you know, on the streets, even before we started talking
Yeah.
about this. I know you hear a lot about what was going on down there. It seemed like it was a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And you say they're going to be in here 7 more years?
They have 7 more years, and they have 2 or 3 5-year options to renew.
Do they have an option to re-rent?
I could have to look again at the documents to see whether or not that provision is part of what is a trade secret. So let me just double check on that.
Yes.
Resident of Knight Run, fairly new resident, so this is, a lot of it's new to me. Just trying to understand the timeline you've got in front of you as to, I heard the next meeting, is that like the decision you're going to make the purchase? And then when will you have information of the residents, how this is going to impact them on a yearly basis? So do you have that time set out yet?
They will make a decision at the March 22nd meeting. We have until April 15th to yea or nay to the current owners, and settlement will be April 30th, April 29th. April 29th.
And if on March 22nd, the board needs additional information or there are additional, you have time to continue the meeting or have a special meeting
Right.
to discuss before
That was my question.
before the April 15th
Right.
deadline.
So at that point, we will know what we're looking for at the bond, and again, the rate won't be, we're working at a 3% rate, so will I have the exact penny there? No, but roughly, this is what the payment will be.
So by then, you'll know what the value of the bond is going to be, what you're going to be asking for.
I think that's what Chuck mentioned about getting the term sheet for, and I think that'll be the next board meeting for discussion also.
So we'll have that at the meeting on the 22nd.
So are you anticipating a minimal impact on the residents here of this purchase?
Yeah.
About $80.
I think you would look at it as a minimal impact compared to what you're currently paying.
Yeah.
Because you know, as we know, we got one more payment on the current bond, the 325. So instead of that going away, you're just going to maintain, but you're also getting the streets done, the landscaping done, and owning that property. So, and that doesn't take into effect the fact that hopefully, again, a few years down the road, once we got reserves, we've got that operation running, that any profits from that facility would go back and be deducted out of our annual payment. So there is potential light at the end of the tunnel too, that number will come down. But I would have to say you venture not for at least 2 to 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Just
really have
until
to.
everything sorts out. But that's reality.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Talk to you later in the
We
week.
have a lot on our plate next month on this one.
Yes.
And just so I'm good, and I'm not sure if we ever said, right now, just estimating, we're talking probably $11 million.
Yes.
So just right now, approximately $11 million bond is what we're looking at.
Yeah, that would be the,
Paid out over 30 years at roughly 3%.
that would be the net proceeds. It's a little south of 12 when you put in the cost of issuance and you put in the debt service reserve fund that has to be funded out of that.
So more like 12 then. So more like 12.
I'm very sure.
It's $1 million a month for us. Okay.
One other question, is there
Yes.
any updated information on the retaining walls on the west side of the property?
That's HOA.
That's HOA. So even though it's on the golf course, it's still,
It's HOA, they have an agreement with Miramar to maintain that wall, and I know the HOA is working with them on that.
Okay.
Where they are with it at this point, I don't know. That's HOA.
that's all.
Thank you. Okay, I think the purchase of the building discussion is done. The next thing we have is consideration of Juniper Landscaping doing the cleanup at the intersections. And John and I looked at it quickly this morning, that there's 9 more intersections to be done. John, you're saying that this $450 for the waste, we don't need that?
No, we won't need that because they'll be able to dump here on site back at the, our landscape waste pile. So that cost wouldn't be accrued, that wouldn't put a burden on us. We just had it picked up 100 yards, so we got a lot of space for it.
So John, what is your, and I'm going to defer to you, what is your opinion on doing this? I mean, some roads are worse than others, some are not. This is kind of a ballpark of the intersection.
Right, well, I have kind of, like even some of the bigger ones, we've actually kind of, the price is good. I mean, the price is fine, I don't see any issues with that. I mean, Pine Straw's a little high, but they gotta make money off it, so just from what we're used to paying wholesale. So that's not even an issue really. But even some of the bigger ones, we were able to get at least all the material pulled out in a day and a half.
Okay.
So, I almost want to, as far as the landscaping, I almost think we should keep going, save that money, you know, and just keep doing it in-house.
John, you got 15,000 in plan replacement, you only use 3.
Well, that's not even, no, this is more removal.
I know.
Because we're not putting it.
I'm just saying.
Right, because I am going to, some of that is sod, like, we're going to have to do a lot of, or not a lot, but we're going to have to do some significant sod work on Worcester, just because we have to go up there. So I think we should probably keep that in-house, and because we're plugging along pretty good, we've got some of the bigger ones out.
And your other work is not being diminished by doing this?
No, we're doing it as we can find the time.
So just so I'm clear, is this the cost to get the rest of them done completely? No.
No, each intersection.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be about
That's
$12,000,
Gotcha.
you know, roughly.
It's 14 something.
14 something total? Okay, so, yeah, I think, and we'll have to pay a little money in sod in some of the areas. This isn't berm work. This is just clearing out those sides closest adjacent to the street so we can get a better view. Worcester doesn't need, or Weymouth doesn't need to be done, need to be addressed. It's all low.
Okay.
So that's what takes off, and that's what makes it 9.
Okay.
I think the next section to go to now is,
Right.
you want to go right here?
Braxfield.
Braxfield, that's actually what I was saying, yeah, it's going to be Braxfield.
Thank
Because that's the next biggest one.
Okay.
We get the most action with the buses and the kids.
Yeah,
and all
exactly,
that.
so, I say maybe we just keep it in-house, save some money.
I agree with that. I thought that was.
I didn't think it would go as fast as it did when we started doing it, those guys really started cranking.
Yeah, last weekend they knocked it out.
They knocked that
really
out quick, yeah.
All right, so if your other work is not being diminished by this,
Yeah.
then I'll say, let's just keep it in-house.
Let's just keep, yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with
I might have to, I'll probably myself have to buy some additional pine straw, but
Okay.
it'll be nominal, and it won't be that expensive.
Okay. Right, thank you.
$8 a barrel.
Okay,
I think I paid a little
Cheaper than that, Lowe's.
I'm sorry, I was talking to Bill.
okay, no problem. Chuck, this is yours. We have a resolution to,
Yep, this is an election year, and this is what we refer to as your election resolution, 2022-01. And it's essentially authorizing and requesting that the supervisor of elections conduct your election process for this upcoming year, including the qualifying period that comes up in June, as you see in the attachment to the resolution, and identifies the seats that are up this year and the fact that the election is in November and that these seats will each be receiving 4-year terms, and also identifies the stipend compensation that each board seat has available to them as a part of us serving on this